Welcome to this predicted paper from OnMaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! If there were 39 people on the bus and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. And we can't cancel that any further. Here we're given two angles on a straight line, and we know that all angles add up to 180 on a straight line. So to find out what A is, we're going to do 180 take away 95. 180 take away 95 is going to be 85 degrees. So angle A is 85 degrees, and the reason is that angles on a straight line add to 180 degrees. And try and get used to writing down the reason as well, because there are quite a lot of marks for the reasons. So a prime number is a number that is only in the 1 times table and its own times table. So 4, for example, is not a prime number because it is also in the 2 times table. 6 is in the 2 times table. 15 is in the 3 times table. 21 is also in the 3 times table. 9 is also in the 3 times table. Now 1 is a bit of a special case. The definition is that it has to be in 1 and its own times table, and technically 1 is only in one of those, so 1 is not a prime number. The smallest prime number is actually 2, but 2 is not in this list. 23 though is not in any other times table, so 23 is a prime number. So we can draw out our place value grid to help us out with this question. We've got thousands, hundreds, tens and units. So we'll need another one there. So thousands go here, hundreds here, tens here, and then units here. So this says 2,000. So a 2 will go in the thousands column. 30, so that'll be a 3 there, and 2. So we need to fill in a 0 here to keep that 2 as 2,000. Otherwise that would collapse and it'd become 232. So the answer is 2032. So we can either use the calculator to work out what 1.2 cubed is, or we can do 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. Now if you wanted to use the calculator to go straight there, you're going to press or type in 1.2, and then normally there's a button that looks like this, X with a little 3, okay, and that will give you the answer. Or if you're not sure how to do that, you can times it by itself 3 times, and you get the answer 1.728. This question's all about like terms. So what we can do is we can add this 10u with this 11u to make 21u. We can also add this 6v with this plus 4v to make 10v. We can also add this 10w to this minus 6w. So 10 take away 6 is 4w, so plus 4w. But we can't add a u term to a v term to a w term. So we have to just leave them be. So our answer is 21u plus 10v plus 4w. But we can multiply them, we just can't add or subtract them. Something to realise in this table we're given in this question is that the triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, and hexagon 6. And that number is just 2 less than the number of faces. So basically, if you've got the number of sides, you add 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6, 5 plus 2 is 7, and 6 plus 2 is 8. So if we've got 20 sides, and we just do the same thing, so we're just adding 2, then we should have 22 faces. So our answer is 22. Median means middle of an ordered list. Now, when numbers are put in a stem leaf diagram, it means by default they are in order. So we're going to cross out the smallest and largest number. So the smallest number is the 4 here. Well, actually that represents 34. The largest is this 69 up here. Put a pen away. Then cross out the smallest. Well, the next smallest is 39. And the next largest is this 59. So I'm always going to the top left, then the bottom right. So the top left number is this 43. Bottom right number is this 54. Top left number is this 44. Bottom right number is this 53. Now, here's a problem. We're left with two numbers in the middle, this 49 and this 52. So whenever we're left with two numbers, what we do is we add them together, divide by 2. So to find the median, we're going to do 49 plus 52, and we're going to divide that by 2. So 49 plus 52 is going to be 101, divided by 2. And 101 divided by 2 is 50.5, or 50.5. And again, realise that 50.5 is halfway between 49 and 52. So we're just going to start by writing the number a little bit bigger. So it says to 2 decimal places, so we're going to draw a line after the second decimal place. Now all the numbers to the right are going to disappear, they're going to turn to 0, and because it's a decimal that just means we get rid of them. But we have to look at this number first. Now if this number is less than 5, we just keep the number to the left, so 8.17. But if it's 5 or more, then this 7 goes up to an 8. So this will be 8.18. I'm going to start just by writing down the number. And we're asked to round this to 3 significant figures. And basically what that means is starting from the left-hand side, it's 3 numbers that we want. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do our line after that third number. And you start counting the first non-zero digit. So the first digit there was 2, so we started counting. Now all the numbers to the left, or sorry, to the right, so these numbers here, will all turn to 0. But before that happens, we look at this number. Now this number, if it's 5 or more, it moves this number up by 1. If it's less than 5, that number stays the same. Now it is 5 or more, because it is 5. So it's not going to be 207, it's going to be 208. Now, a common mistake is that students write down 208. No, all the numbers to the right of that line turn to 0. So it would be 0, 0, 0. So it would be 20,000 or 208,000 exactly. So we're going to start off by writing the sequence out. And what you might notice straight away is that each of the terms is increased by 2. And so we're asked to find the next 2 terms. So we're just going to keep this pattern going. So increase it by 2, that would be 20. Increase by 2 again, and that would be 22. If you imagine these numbers written out as a list, there would be 5 lots of zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There'd be 9 lots of 1, so 1, 1, etc., etc. Okay, so when we're looking to see the total number of goals scored in the season, we could write them out as a list and then add them up. But a quicker way of doing that is just multiplying the amount of goals by the frequency. So we've got 5 lots of 0 goals, which will just be 0. 9 lots of 1 goal, so that's just 9. 4 lots of 2 goals, so that's 8. 6 lots of 3 goals, that's 18. And then 6 lots of 4 goals, that's 24. So all we need to do now is add up the 0, 9, 8, 18 and 24, which brings us to 59. So there were 59 goals scored. The first thing to do when working out what angle things need to be on a pie chart is to add up the frequencies. So we're going to do 14 plus 7 plus 3, and we find out that that's 24. Then we're going to find the angle that one item would be. So one item is going to be, well, there are 360 degrees in a triangle, and there are 24 items. So we're going to do 360 divided by 24, and that gives us 15 degrees. So each item is worth 15 degrees, or will take up 15 degrees. So to find out the angle for red, well, we've got 14 items, times it by 15, and that will give us 210 degrees. And we're just going to times each of these by 15, which would be 105, and the final one times 15 is 45 degrees. Add them up and they add up to 360, which is good. They need to add up to 360. So we got our protractor, rest it on the pie chart. Now we know 180 is down here, so the first thing we're going to do is just mark that on, because the first angle is going to be 210, so we know that's 180 so far. So I'm going to turn my protractor around, and from 180, 210 will be another 30, so I'm just going to plot that on, and then I'm going to join it up. So start at the center and join that up, and we're going to stop when the circle stops. Then to do 105, we're going to put our protractor in the middle, and we're going to look at 105, which will be up here, and then we're just going to join it up with a straight line. And then we're just going to check the last angle, and so if I put my protractor on it, and it is 45 degrees. Perfect. Now, an important step to not miss is you need to label them. And so the first one is red, the second one is blue, and then the final one is other. All of this here basically means that t, the time, is between 120 and 130. If it is 120, then it's in this group. If it is exactly 130, it's actually in the next group. So we're going to look at all the numbers that are between 120 and 130. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the frequency will be 4. The next group is all the numbers between 130 and 140, which is just this one here. Then we have between 140 and 150, which is just this one here. And then we have between 150 and 160. That will be these two here. The midpoint of a line is just the halfway point of the line, and we can see that the halfway point will be here. And so the coordinates of that point are 0, 2. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, new amount, represents 113% because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13, and we get 99. So 1% represents £99. So 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. To find the perimeter of a shape, you just find the distance around it. So you pick a point and just start walking around the shape. So we're going to walk down this shape side, and we're going to write down that 8. And we're just going to add all the lengths of the triangle that we go down. So the next one is 6 centimeters, so we're going to add that 6. And then finally, this 3 centimeters here. And we stop because we've returned to where we started. Add those together and you get 17. And the units will be centimeters because perimeter is a distance. So we can see that the first 4 of these have already been plotted. Now it's really important that you you do the coordinate the right way around. So the first one is number and then algebra. So we're looking at this coordinate here. We're 18 on number, which would be here, and then 14 on algebra, which would be this point here. 12 on both, so 12 and 12 would be here, and then 21 and 17. So 21 and 17 would be roughly there. The lowest point on this graph is here, and that's at point 6, and the highest point is here at point 20. And we're looking for percentage change or percentage increase, and the formula is change over original times 100. So the change between the 6 and the 20 is 14. The original, the starting point, was the 6 and times by 100. And that gives us 233.333 blah 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 percent. And this 100 technically is 100% that we're timesing it by. So it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that would be 233%. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012. So we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that, we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. You will need to use a paper and pencil to do this physically. You can't really do this on the computer. And make sure you have a ruler and a compass. So the first thing we're going to do is draw our 10 centimeter line. And we're going to get our compass and we're going to measure the 6 centimeters for the left hand side. So we're going to measure 6 centimeters on our compass. And we're going to just put a little arc there. We can do the same on the other side for 8 centimeters. So we're going to do our 8 centimeter arc from the right hand side, and we're going to put the point of the compass here. And it should be like that. And you can see where the 2 arcs overlap, which is here, and we can join these up with straight lines. And it says to measure the angle X, so we're going to need a protractor for this bit. I'm going to put our protractor here with the crosshairs matching here. So we're going to be looking at the inside, the outside one, and it comes up as 37 degrees. So our answer is 37 degrees. So to find the probability, we're going to do the successful outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. So looking at this question, it says number of times it should land on a 1. So that would be 1 over the total amount, which is 11. So the chance of us getting a 1 is 1 over 11. To find the expected amount, we do the probability and we times it by the amount of trials. So it says it's spun 60 times, so we're going to times it by 60. And that will give us the answer of 5.454 blah blah blah. Now it can't have landed on a 1 5.4 times, so it's definitely, well, this probability, we always round down, so never ever round up, because it's 5 times and then a little bit extra, and so only when it gets to 6 can we say that it's 6 times. So the answer to this is just 5. So with this question, I'm just going to write it out a bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. And one of my rules is if you've ever got a fraction or a set of brackets in a question you're trying to solve, always get rid of those first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do myself a little grid to be able to solve these brackets. So we've got a 3 there, 6x and minus 11, and we're timesing them. And we're just going to multiply out the brackets. And if you've got a different technique to do this, that's absolutely fine, use that. 3 times 6x is 18x. 3 times minus 11 is minus 33. So we're just going to rewrite this as 18x minus 33. Now we are solving, so we're going to put our solving lines in. And the first thing I want to deal with is this take away 33. So we're going to do the opposite of that, the inverse, which is plus 33. And whatever you do to the left hand side, you have to do to the right hand side. So we're going to add 33 to both sides. We're left with the 18x on the left hand side because we've got rid of the minus 33. And on the right hand side, we've got 180. Next, we want to get rid of this times 18. So we're going to do that by dividing both sides by 18. On the left hand side, we're left with our x, and on the right hand side, we're doing 180 divided by 18, which is 10. So our answer is x equals 10. When simplifying ratios, we're looking at doing exactly the same thing as when you simplify a fraction, but instead of top and bottom, we're looking at left and right. So we've got to do the same thing to the left and right. So here we've got 12 and 45. Well, I can divide both of those by 3. They're both in the 3 times table. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 45 divided by 3 is 15. So our simplified ratio is 4 to 15 because I can't go any further. To find the area of a circle, we use the formula area equals pi r squared, or pi times r squared. We're given that the fact that the radius is 12, so it'd be pi times 144. Type that into the calculator and you get 452.389 blah blah blah. And the question asks us to round it to 2 decimal places, so that would be 452.39. The modal class is just the group that has the mode. Okay, the modal group. Class just means group. Now all these guys here are groups, so any of these could be the answer. To find the modal class or the modal group, we just look to see which one has the most numbers in it. Well, the first group has 16 in it, the next group has 11, the next group 17, the next group 11, and the next group, or the last group, 13. Which of those is the most? Well, 17. So the group that has the most is this 30. Let's do that a bit nicer. 30, and then C, and then 35. That essentially means 30 to 35, but make sure you copy it down correctly from the table, so exactly as it shows it in the table. I'm going to first of all work out how many parts there are in total. So we've got James with 9 parts, 6 for Andy, and 7 for Tia. So in total, we've got 9 plus 6 plus 7, which is 22 parts in total. And we're asked to find a fraction Tia receives. Now, Tia's the last one, so she is receiving the 7 parts. So it's 7 out of 22. So 7 times 10 to the power 4 is going to be 7, and it's going to be 70,000. And 9 times 10 to the power of 7 will be 90 million. And so when you add them together, you get 9007000. Now, if you have access to a calculator, if this is on the calculator paper, then you can just type it into your calculator. Some people think there's a quick way of doing this, like adding the 7 and the 9. There isn't. You've just got to work out what this number is, work out what this number is, and add them together. Whenever we do these kind of questions, it's always best to convert the pattern into numbers. So we're just going to count the dots. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 in the first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So our sequence is going 9, 13, 17. And we're going to see what it's going up in. So we're adding 4 each time. And that means our sequence will involve 4n. And then what we do is we go backwards 1 to find the 0th term. So we're going to take away 1. So 9 take away 1 is 5. So the 0th term is 5. And the 0th term just tells us what to add on to the 4n. So 4n plus 5 will be our answer. So let's look through this question to see what information we're given and what information we're looking for. So we're given the acceleration is 13 meters per second squared. We're also given the distance is 19. And we're also given the end velocity, which is v, is 34. And we're looking for the initial velocity. So which of these formulae include a, s, v, and u? That's got a t in it, that's got a t in it, so it's going to be this one here. So let's write that out. V squared equals u squared plus 2as. So that would be 34 squared equals u squared, because that's what the one we're looking for, plus 2 times 13 times 19. Okay, so let's just work these parts out. And so we've got 2 times 13 times 19, which is what, 494. And it turns into a solving part, so we're just going to solve this. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 494 from both sides. And so we're left with 662 equals u squared. Then we're just going to square root both sides. And so square root of that is going to be 25.729 blah blah blah. And it says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it's going to be 25.73. So we're going to go through this shape and work out the area of each of the shapes in the triangular base prism. So we're going to start with this triangle at the front. And the formula for working out the area of a triangle is half times the base, which is 12, times the height. And so that's going to be 54. Next thing I'm going to do is work out the rectangle here. And so the width of it's 23 and the length is 15. So we're going to do 23 times 15, which is 345. We're going to do the base of the triangle, or rectangle, sorry, at the bottom. And so that is going to be 23 times 12. And that is 276. And the next thing we're going to do is this rectangle at the back, which is going to be, I'm going to call D, and that is going to be 9 times the width, which is 23. So that's 207. Now we do have another triangle, but actually that's the same as A. So when we're working out the surface area, we're going to do 2 lots of A plus B plus C plus D. And that gives us 936. So the answer is 936 centimetres squared. There is quite an easy way of doing this question, but I'm going to show you the long way and then we're going to work out what the quicker way is. So I'm going to pair up the A and the 1, which it suggests in the question. Then I'm going to work out the A and the 2 as a different combination, A3, A4, etc. Then I'm going to look at the B and do the same thing, B1, B2, B3, etc. Then I'm going to work out the C, so all the combinations with C. So how many combinations are there with A? Well, there's going to be 7 because there's 7 numbers. How many with B? Well, there's also going to be 7. And how many with C? Well, there's also going to be 7. So in total, there's going to be 7 plus 7 plus 7, which is 21. And the way I can work that out easily is work out how many combinations there are with spinner 1. Well, there's 3. How many combinations there are with spinner 2? 7. And we just times the 2 together. 3 times 7 is 21. To find the largest weight this package could have been before it was rounded, let's do a quick number line. And we're going to just do it between the 24 and what it would round to next. Well, it's 10 nearest kilogram, so the next thing it would round to is 25. The cutoff point for rounding is here. And that's going to be halfway between 24 and 25, which is 24.5. And that is actually going to be our answer. Now, some of you who are astute might realise that 24.5 would round to 25, but theoretically the biggest it can be is going to be 24.49 recurring. Let's just draw that a bit better, 24.49 recurring. And that is actually the same as 24.5. In your exam, however, you can write 24.49 recurring and you would get full marks, but for brevity, I would definitely recommend writing 24.5. So we're asked to find the value of n where both sequences have the same term. So I'm going to start off by equaling both nth terms to each other, and then we can find the value of n which gives the same term. So I draw my lines down. And I'm going to start off by getting rid of the n's from both sides. So we look to see which is the smaller amount. So we've got 12n and we've got 6n. So the smaller amount is the 6n. So we're going to take away 6n on both sides. And so that would be 6n plus 19. And we've got rid of the 6n, so just 79. Next thing we're going to do is get rid of the 19. So take away 19 both sides. And so we've got 6n equals 79 take away 19, which is 60. And finally we just go divide the 6, and so that'll be n equals 10. So the value of n is 10. Now we can just test this, because if you do 6 times 10, which is 60, 60 plus 79, which will be 139. And then if we do the same for the top one, 12 times 10, which is 120, plus 19, which is 139. So they both have the same term when n is 10. There's an awful lot going on in this question. Whenever there's an awful lot going on, it's always best to draw a diagram. So we're going to start off at Chelton, which is a C. Then we go to Bolko, that's where we're going. And we go through Devley on the way, so we'll do D there. Distance from Chelton to Devley is 34 miles. Distance from Devley to Bovelo is 16 miles. So I'm just reading through the question, adding it to my diagram. David leaves Cheltenham at 9 o'clock. He drives from Cheltenham to Devley an average speed of 68 miles per hour. And what speed does David travel between Devley and Bolcoed to arrive at 9:45? So the whole duration of this, the whole thing needs to be 45 minutes or 0.75 hours. And the entire distance is 34 plus 16, so that would be 50 miles. Okay. Now, having a look at this, we need to find out what time David was at Devley. So we're going to use our speed, distance, time triangle. So speed equals distance over time. And we're covering up the time, because that's the one we want. So it's going to be time equals distance, which is 34, over speed, which is 68. So we're going to do 34 divided by 68, which is 0.5. So it would be 0.5 hours. So that would be half an hour. So we will be at Devley at 9:30. So that means we've got 15 minutes left. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes to travel the 16 miles. So this time we're looking for the speed. Okay, so it would be speed equals the distance, which is 16 miles, over time, which is 15 minutes, but we need that in hours, so that would be 0.25 hours. And so what we can do here is times top 1 by 4 to get rid of the fraction. So it becomes 64 over 1, or just 64 miles per hour. So our answer is 64 miles per hour. So we're going to first of all work out the curved surface area, which is just this bit here, not including the top and bottom. And the formula for that is 2 pi r h. And the h is this bit here, so it's 2 times pi times the radius at the top, which is 12, times the height, which is 19. And that gives us 1432.566, blah, blah, blah. Next we go work out the area of the circle at the top. So circle area. And the formula for that is just pi r squared. So pi times 12 squared, which will give us 452.389, blah, blah, blah. Now there are actually two circles, so when we work out the total surface area, so total surface area, we add the curved surface area to two lots of the circle surface area, or areas of the circle, because there's one circle at the top and one at the bottom, and that gives us 2,337.344, blah, 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 and two decimal places, that is 2,337.34. When finding a sample of people, you want everyone in the population to have an equal chance of being picked. So in method 1, the fact in a lifestyle magazine might bias the people reading it, because there's groups of people that don't read lifestyle magazines. A poster up in the gym, again, there's groups of people who don't go to the gym. And midday in town centres, well, it might be on a school day, or it might be that you are skewing your data towards retired people. There's lots of reasons why a certain group of people won't be at a town centre at midday. The only one here that gives everyone an equal chance of being picked is this one here. Okay, so picking people randomly from the electoral roll. There are some groups of people who might choose not to be on the electoral roll, but looking at the four methods, this one is by far the most fair sample. If I start by drawing a number line, and we're going to put the 110 in the middle. Now I'm going to label the next one down and the next one up. It says to the nearest 10, so the next one down would be 100, and the next one up would be 120. Now we're interested in the cutoff, and the cutoff point is between the two numbers. Okay, so that's the cutoff point. If it goes above that cutoff point, it would have rounded to the next number up. So if the number was here, it would round to 120. If the number is on the cutoff point, which we can see is going to be 115, then we know it would round up. So we need to find the biggest number in this part here. So this part here, and it includes this line actually, so it includes this line. So all the numbers that would have rounded to 110 would have been 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, which would be here. But if it was 115, it would have rounded to 120. So 114 is the biggest number it could have been before rounding to 120, and we know it didn't round to 120 because in the question it says it's 110 to the nearest 10. So our answer is 114. To see if a number's in a sequence, we get the nth term and we get it equal to the number we think is in the sequence. And if the number is in the sequence, then we'll get a integer for n. If the number's not in the sequence, then we'll get a decimal. So we're just solving this now, and we're doing 135 take away 24, which is 111. And then we're going to divide both sides by 10, and you're probably already seeing the fact that it doesn't work exactly because n is 11.1, which means that Prisha is wrong. 135 can't be in that sequence. To work out the mass, we will need to find the density and the volume. Density is given to us in the question, but volume isn't, so we need to work out what the volume of this cuboid is. So the volume is just the 33 times the 7 times the 22. So that would be 5,082, and that would be centimetres cubed. And we need to write down the formula for density. So density is the mass divided by the volume. So rearrange this to get mass on its own because that's the thing we're looking for. So mass equals density times volume. Density is given to us in the question as 2.1 grams per centimetres cubed. Times that by the 5,082 for the volume, and we get the answer of 10,672. And then that will give us grams because our density is in grams, so that is grams, but the answer is asking for kilograms. So to convert that to kilograms, we just divide by 1,000 and we get 10.672. Then we need to round that to 2 decimal places, and so that would be 10.67 kilograms. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30, and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n. And then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. So the only way of answering this question is to work out what these are as ordinary numbers. And so 7 times 10 to the power of 7 would be 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. and 9 times 10 to the power of 4 would be 90,000, so that would be 90000, and so we're just subtracting them like that, and so we'll get 6991000. And obviously if this is on the calculator paper, just type it into your calculator. There are no tricks here. You can't do anything with the 7 and the 9. You're not subtracting powers or anything. You're just literally typing in what it says. And there's a button on the calculator like that you will need to use. So if you don't know what that is, ask your teacher or ask someone to help you out with that. When something gets to the power of 4, you times it by itself 4 times. So we're going to do that to the x cubed here. So we've got x cubed times x cubed times x cubed times x cubed. Now when two powers of the same base are multiplied together, you add the powers together. So here we're going to add the 3, the 3, the 3 and the 3, and that will give us x to the power of 12. Now there is a simple rule here that we can use. Whenever you've got a power on the inside of a bracket and a power on the outside of the bracket, all you need to do is multiply them together. 3 times 4, which is 12. So in this question we are told that the centre of enlargement is at 6, 4. So let's just put across there. And what I'm going to do is just draw ray lines from the centre of enlargement, and we're just going to go through each of the corners of our shape A. And we're going to just check whether it goes through the corner of shape B, which it does on this one. Let's just keep going. Yeah, it does on this one. But it does not on this one. So it says find the coordinate of the vertex of shape B that is not correct. So the coordinate is this one here, and so that would be -4, 1. To find solutions for quadratics on a graph, all you need to do is find out where the graph meets the x-axis. Okay, so the coordinates this graph meets the x-axis are here and here, and that would be -0.8 and 0.2, and they're also called roots. So this pyramid's made up of two different shapes. We've got the square at the bottom and we've got the triangles on the sides, and there's 4 triangles, but they're the same shape, and we know that because the pyramid's equidistant to all corners of the base, which basically means that the triangles are going to be equal. So we're going to work out the square first. I'm just going to label it with an A, and so the square is going to be 15 times 15, which is 225. Next we're going to work out the triangle, which I'm just going to label as B, and triangle is half times base, which is 15, times the perpendicular height, which, because this is perpendicular, is going to be that 12, and so that's going to be 90. So to work out the surface area, we're going to do the 225 plus 4 lots of the 90, because there's 4 triangles there. So that's going to be 585 centimeters squared. Factorising is the opposite of expanding. With expanding, we're multiplying out a bracket. With factorising, we're putting something in a bracket. So I'm going to start by just putting the bracket down. Now I need to ask myself, what number can I divide out of 3x squared and 5x? Well, there's not going to be a number I can divide out, but they both have at least an x. X squared obviously is x times x, and x is just on its own for the 5x. So we're going to divide out the x. So I need to ask myself, what times x is going to be 3x squared? Well, obviously 3x. And then we ask ourselves, what times x is 5x? Well, that's just going to be 5. And if you were to expand that set of brackets, you will get 3x squared plus 5x. So we know it's the correct one. And so our answer will be x brackets 3x plus 5. To find the gradient, we need to find 2 points we know on this graph. So I'm going to pick that coordinate and this coordinate here. And we know that we need to draw a right angled triangle between them. and we find the gradient by the change in y, which is 3, over the change in x. But notice the change in x is 1, so it's going to end up being 3 divided by 1, which is just 3. So a different definition of the gradient is for every 1 we go to the right, how far up we go, which is 3. I'm going to write this out just a bit bigger so we can see what's going on. And there are loads of different methods for expanding brackets. I'm going to use smile and rainbows. So smile there, rainbow there, and I always put a little notch here to remind me to times it. So we're going to do 4 times 8, which is 32, and x times x, which is x squared. Then we're going to do 4 times 3, which is 12, and x is just there. So when we expand that, we get 32 x squared plus 12x. So let's write these numbers out. And the first thing to do is work out what the numbers are going up by. So they're going up by minus 3, because they're minusing 3 each time. So we know that the number before the n is going to be minus 3. So whatever they go up in is the number before the n. Then what we do is we go backwards to find the 0th term. So actually going backwards, we would add 3 and we would find it to be 20. So whatever numbers our 0th term, because 17 is our first term, is going to be what we add to the minus 3n. So it's going to be add 20. So our answer is minus 3n plus 20. So we're looking to write a formula for the cost in pounds of hiring a microwave for X amount of days. So the cost is C, so it's going to be C equals, and it says it's going to be 55 pence a day. Now, it wants the answer in pounds, so we need to convert this 55 pence into pounds. So that's going to be 0.55, and it's going to be 0.55 times the amount of days. Well, it says the amount of days is X, so it's going to be 0.55 X. Then it says that there's just a one-off cost of £15. So you're going to have to pay £15 regardless. So we're just going to add 15 onto that. So the answer would be C equals 0.55 X plus 15. So I'm going to write the equation out, the formula out. And we're asked to make y the subject, so I'm just going to get my lines in. And so what's stopping us from having y on its own? Well, this minus 1. How am I going to get rid of it? Add 1 both sides. So we've got x plus 1 equals 9y. What else do we have that stops y from being on its own? Well, this times 9 here. So we're going to do the opposite, the inverse, which is divide by 9 both sides. And to do that nicely, what we do is we just do it as a fraction. X plus 1 over 9 equals y. So therefore y is x plus 1 over 9. We're going to start by drawing a table of values. We draw the table of values because we've got a curve here, and with a curve you need quite a lot of coordinates to make sure you get the curve right. Now ideally I'd go up in halves, but so that I'm not just sitting here writing numbers, I'm going to go up in ones on this one. I'm going to leave a space there though, and we'll see why in a second. So what I'm going to do is type these into a calculator. I'm going to type in 0.5 times brackets minus 2 close brackets cubed plus 8 into the calculator, and that gives me the answer of 4. I do the same with minus 1, that gives me 7.5. 0 gives me 8. 1 gives me 8.5. 2 will give me 12. 3 will give me 21.5. The reason I've left a space there is this axis doesn't go up to 21.5. So what I'm going to do is just do 2.5 to see if it goes up to that, and that should be 15.8125. So that's actually quite useful because that shows that it's not quite 16. So we were aiming for roughly where 16 is. So next thing we do is plot these coordinates. So 2 would be at 4. Minus 1 is 7.5, which we can't be perfectly accurate for, but it's roughly there. Then 0 is 8. Then 1 is 8.5, roughly there. 2 is 12, and then 2.5 is just below that 16. So it's almost at 16. Then the next thing we do is just join it up with a nice smooth curve. It's sometimes helpful if you turn your paper sideways. Obviously I can't do it when I'm on this computer, but you want to just keep drawing and don't lift your pen off at all. Just go with the points. And you want to avoid things like feathering, which is like that. We do that kind of thing. And you kind of want to avoid, or you want to make sure you go through the coordinates. And you just make it a nice smooth curve. The exam is very forgiving when it comes to curves. They know that not everyone's got the steadiest of hands. So as long as yours goes through the points and doesn't have like gaps in it or feathering or anything like that, and it's just one continuous smooth line, then you'll get the marks. So the way this formula works is we have M, which is the final amount. The 2000 here is our initial amount. The decimal in here is our multiplier, and the power here is the amount of years. So the way multipliers work is they are the percentage divided by 100. So if we go the other way and times it by 100 to make it back into a percentage, it will be 102.9%. Now it says, what is the interest rate of the bank? Well, the interest rate is always going to be 100%. Well, this 102.9% is 100% plus the interest rate, which will equal the 102.9%. So the interest rate is going to be the 2.9%. You always start off with 100%. So if I put £5 into my bank, I've got 100% of that £5, and then the interest rate is on top of that 100%. So our answer here will be 2.9%. So there are three parts that we need to find the area of. We're going to start with the easiest bit first, this circle at the bottom here. Okay, so the circle area is just going to be pi times r squared, and the radius is given to us at the top, which is 9, so it's just going to be pi times 9 squared, and that would be 254.469 blah blah blah. Well, we could leave it as 81 pi. Next bit is the curved bit of the cylinder. So we're going to do the cylinder next. And it's just the curved bit, and the formula for that is 2 pi r h. So 2 times pi times the radius, which is 9, times the height, which is 30. And that will give us 1696.460 blah blah blah. And the last bit is this hemisphere here. And so let's do the hemisphere. And the formula for the area of a hemisphere, well, this full sphere is 4 times pi times r squared, but because it's a hemisphere, it's half of that. And so it'd be half times 4 times pi times the 9 squared, and that will give us 508.938. And so the final thing is to work out the total area, so total surface area. And we're just going to add up all these numbers together. So we add up the 254.469, the 1696.460, blah, 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 and the 508.938, blah, 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 blah. And we get 2,459.867, blah, blah, blah. Do make sure you show the examiner that you're adding these three here. I've not done that because it wastes a bit of time for a video, but make sure you write it down. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so that will be 2,459.87 centimetres squared. So there are two outcomes that it will rain once in the next 2 days, and that will be rain and not rain, and not rain and rain. So to work out the probability, it will rain on Monday and then not rain on Tuesday. What you're going to do is just multiply 6 over 20 by the 2 over 7. So 6 over 20 times 2 over 7. And that will give us 12 over 140. And to work out the probability, it will not rain on Monday and rain on the Tuesday. We're just going to multiply the 14 over 20 by the 5 over 7, and so that'd be 14 over 20 times 5 over 7, and that will give us 70 over 140. Now we're looking for the probability it will rain and not rain, or not rain and rain. The word "or" in probability means add. So we're going to get that 12 over 140 and add it to the 70 over 140, and that will give us 82 over 140, and then we can cancel that down to 41 over 70. So the first thing to notice with these simultaneous equations is the coefficient of y is the same, and so what we're going to do is just copy out the equations and just make them a bit bigger. And we're really looking at the signs before the 6y's, and we'll eventually be going downwards. Now we're either going to be add or subtracting going downwards, and the point is to get rid of the y's. And these signs, if they are both the same sign, then we're going to subtract. If they are different signs, then we're going to add. So D in different is the D in add, the S in same is the S in subtract. So looking at them, they are both the same, so we're going to subtract. And we don't just subtract these ones, we subtract all of these. So we're going to look at the difference of all of these. So 6x take away 4x is 2x. 42 take away 32 is 10. Get our lines in. And we're going to divide 2 both sides. So 2x divided by 2 is obviously x, which is the whole point, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So x equals 5 is our first solution, but we've got to find out what y is. And to do that, we're going to just substitute in the value of x into the first equation. So we've got 6 times 5 plus 6y equals 42, and then we're just going to solve that. So we get our lines in. And first thing we're going to do is take away the 6 times 5, or take away the 30 from both sides. So we've got 6y equals 12, and then we're going to divide by 6 both sides to get what y equals. So y equals 2. Now we can check that by putting the values of x and y into the second equation. So 4 times 5 plus 6 times 2, and that does equal 32. So in this question we've got a right angle triangle and it involves 2 lengths and an angle, so it's going to be a trigonometry question. So we're going to start by labelling the sides. So we've got the hypotenuse opposite the right angle, opposite is opposite the marked angle, and the adjacent is between the right angle and the marked angle. Now notice the opposite doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so we're going to cross that out, we're not interested in that. We're next going to draw our triangles for SOHCAHTOA. So it'd be SOHCAHTOA. And we cross out the opposite, so we're not looking at a sine or tan, we're going to be looking at the cos. So it would be cos the angle, or cos x, equals a over h. And the angle is 37, so cos 37 equals 7.1 over x. Now, whenever you're in this situation, and we're just going to put our solving lines in because we're going to be solving this next, if I can press the right button, there we go. And whenever you're in this situation, what you can do is swap the left hand side, it has to be the whole of the left hand side, with the x at the bottom. You can just swap those over, and effectively what we're doing is multiplying both sides by x and then dividing both sides by cos 37. So when we swap those over, we get x equals 7.1 over cos 37. When you type that into your calculator, just make sure you close the bracket. If when you type in cos it opens a bracket, make sure you close the bracket before you ask your calculator for the answer, or press the equals button, and that would be 8.890 blah blah blah. And when you round that to 2 decimal places, it will be 8.89. So we're asked to find the bearing of Freetown from Gamley, so that is this angle here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find this angle, and this will obviously be 90 degrees because the hiker walked west and it's against the west line and the north line, so it's definitely 90 degrees. So we can work out what the bearing is if we know that angle inside the triangle. So we're going to start by labelling the sides. Well, we've got a 90 degrees here, we've got a hypotenuse here, we've got the adjacent here next to the angle, and we've got the opposite, which is across from the marked angle. Here we're not using the hypotenuse, so we can cross that out, and we can do our SOHCAHTOA. And the only one that doesn't have the hypotenuse is TOA, and so we're doing tan x equals the opposite, which is 49 over 98. Get our lines in, and we're going to do the inverse tan to both sides. So we get x equals, and we do inverse tan, which is 26.565 blah blah blah. Okay, so we know that the whole of the way around up until this point is 270 because we've got this 90 degree left. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to work out the bearing. So bearing, we're just going to do 270, take away the 26.565 blah blah blah, and that gives us 243.434 blah blah blah. It says it wants it to the nearest whole number, so that's going to be 243. So we're asked to find the vector 3a plus 2b. So we're going to start off by working out 3a. And so we just go times the top and bottom of a by 3. So that'd be 9 and 6. And to find 2b, we do exactly the same to the second one, but we're going to times it by 2. That'd be minus 2 and minus 4. And so to find 3a plus 2b, we're just going to add the tops together, so 9 plus minus 2, and add the bottoms together, so 6 plus minus 4. 9 plus minus 2 is 9 take away 2, which is 7. And 9 plus minus 4 is going to be 2. So the vector is going to be 7 and 2. So we're asked to go from B to C and name the vector. So we can't go directly from B to C because we don't know the name of that road. So we've got to go from B to C just going down roads that we know. Well, we know the name of this road, and then we know the name of this road. Now that first road is going to be A, but we're going the wrong way up it. So it's actually going to be minus A. And the second road we went down is just B, and we're going with B, so it's a positive B. Now you could write that as B minus A as well. I'm going to draw out the two triangles that we have here just separately, and so we can see a little bit clearer about what's going on. And it's actually good advice to actually draw them separately. And so here we've got AB, which is, if I get off that mode, 33 meters. And so this is AB. And this other triangle is ADE. Should probably have labelled that on. And we've got the 91 there, and we've got 13 there, and then we've got 147 here. I think that's all. And we're asked to find length AD. So the first thing to notice is that these triangles are similar. And the way we know is that this angle and this angle will be equal because on the original diagram you can see that they make an F, which means they're corresponding because we've got the parallel sides. Same with these two angles, they're going to be corresponding for the same reason. And this top one is a shared angle, so they're going to be equal on both diagrams. When you've got two triangles that have equal angles, they're definitely similar, so one's an enlargement of the other. If they're similar, it means that we can find a scale factor. And so what I'm going to do is just find a scale factor between the 13 and the 91. To do that, we do the big number divided by the little number, and that gives us 7. So the scale factor is going to be 7. And we're going to work backwards with the scale factor, and we're looking for length AD, which is this length here. And so we're going to do this one, and we're going to times it by the scale factor. So times it by 7 to find out what the new length is. So 33 times 7 is 231. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.